The stars had never seemed so quiet. On the peaceful worlds orbiting the Luyana cluster, life thrived in relative harmony. Trade ships glided between planets, children played under twin suns, and diplomats debated policies in glass towers that shimmered like crystals. But that calm was about to shatter. Out in the void beyond the nebula, a shadow grew. It wasn't a comet or a natural phenomenon. No starship could be mistaken for anything else. The Galactic fleet had arrived, a colossal armada of warships, their dark hulls etched with ominous sigils and gleaming weapon arrays, emerged like an iron leviathan, swallowing the starlight. The nearest planet's sensors screamed in warning. The fleet moved with terrifying precision, blocking trade routes, cutting off entire systems from the galaxy. Across the cluster, panic spread like wildfire. Hollow messages flashed urgent calls for emergency councils. Messages of defiance and terror intertwined on communications networks. In the heart of this chaos sat Commander Vrax, a towering alien figure clad in armor, forged from the rarest ores of his homeworld. His eyes, cold and unyielding, scanned the star map projected before him. The Galactic fleet was unmatched, their doctrine clear. Dominance through overwhelming power. Resistance was not an option. A voice crackled through the flagship's main comm channel. "Broadcast the ultimatum," Vrax ordered. A booming message echoed across every inhabited system in the cluster. "To all species within our domain, your time of complacency ends. Submit your fleets, your governments, and your allegiance to the Galactic Empire. Failure to comply will result in total annihilation. Obedience is survival." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Thousands of worlds faced a choice they had never imagined: surrender or die. But thousands of light years away on Earth, the broadcast was met with something entirely unexpected. In a cluttered studio somewhere in New York City, a group of humans gathered around a flickering holoscreen. The news anchor's serious tone was drowned out by muffled laughter. Memes and satirical posts exploded across social media, mocking the fleet's dire message with jokes, cartoons, and parodies. "Wait, did they just say total annihilation? Sounds like they need a good laugh," chuckled Max, a stand-up comedian with a sharp wit. Honestly, what's scarier than a fleet demanding submission? Humans laughing it off. Classic. Across the planet, millions tuned into a live stream titled Galactic Fleet, more like Galactic Flop. Jokes flew fast and furious. When you block trade routes but forget to block the internet memes. Galactic Empire sounds like a galactic retirement plan for overachievers. Meanwhile, governments scrambled to understand what this reaction meant. Was it denial? Defiance? Insanity? Back on the flagship, Commander Vrax's communication officer reported the Earth response in disbelief. "They are laughing, Commander. Not fear, not respect. Laughter." Vrax's eyes narrowed. "Laughter is not a weapon. It is a weakness. Prepare to send a delegation. We will show these humans the meaning of power." But even as the fleet readied its diplomats, the humans prepared their own response. Not with weapons, but with their trademark unpredictability. The galaxy had expected fear. It was about to get something far stranger. The Galactic fleet's flagship, Dominion's Wrath, loomed like a dark mountain above Earth's orbit. Its sleek black hull swallowed the sunlight, casting an eerie shadow on the blue planet below. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, an alien courtroom of the cosmos, where power was measured by weaponry and command, and where humor was considered a dangerous anomaly. Commander Vrax stood rigidly on the command bridge, eyes fixed on the incoming transmission from Earth. The Galactic fleet had demanded submission. What they received instead was a peculiar reply, a delegation that no one expected: humans, but not the diplomats the fleet had prepared for. No. Earth's envoy was a curious mix. A famous stand-up comedian, a former diplomat known for sharp wit, a renowned scientist with a penchant for pranks, and a popular talk show host famous for roasting politicians. It was as if Earth had thrown the galaxy's most unpredictable cast into one room and sent them to negotiate. The fleet's ambassador, a stern, chitinous being named Sarlacc, was the first to greet the delegation aboard the flagship. He had been trained for diplomacy, intimidation, and to crush any flicker of resistance with cold authority, but the humans disarmed him instantly, not with weapons but with charm, jokes, and something utterly alien to him: laughter. As the humans stepped onto the polished floor of the Dominion's Wrath's grand chamber, the assembled alien delegates watched with suspicion. Their eyes, some compound, some gleaming with bioluminescence, flicked over the human envoy's casual attire and irreverent smiles. Max, the comedian, was the first to speak, his voice light but confident. "Greetings. We're thrilled to finally meet the Galactic fleet. You guys really know how to make an entrance. Blocking trade routes. Classic drama move." The room fell silent. Sarlacc's antennae twitched in confusion. The former diplomat, Ambassador Lila Chen, stepped forward with a polite nod. "We understand you've made your demands clear, but before we consider submission, we thought you might appreciate a little humor. It's a universal language, or at least it's supposed to be." Without waiting for permission, the talk show host, Rico, pulled out a small device. In an instant, the chamber was filled with holographic projections of alien caricatures, some exaggerated, some outright ridiculous. A hologram of Commander Vrax appeared, sporting a comically oversized helmet and clumsily juggling plasma grenades. The alien delegates gasped. Sarlacc's mandibles snapped in outrage. "Cease this mockery," he hissed, but the humans only smiled wider. Lila raised a hand to calm the crowd. "We're not here to mock, well, maybe a little, but to start a conversation. Humor can break walls down. Fear and anger only build more." Meanwhile, back on Earth, people watched the live broadcast in awe. The humans weren't just standing up to the fleet, they were doing it their way. Memes exploded online. Hashtags like "Yarn Galactic Comedy" trended across every network. Inside the flagship, Sarlacc reported to Commander Vrax. "They do not fear us. They mock us openly. It is an insult." Vrax's voice was cold. "Insults are irrelevant. They will learn respect." But even he couldn't deny the strange effect the humans' humor was having. Some of the alien delegates, normally rigid and stoic, stifled snickers. A few exchanged confused glances. Was this defiance, or an unexpected tactic? The humans continued their strategy. Every meeting was a mix of serious negotiation and lighthearted banter. Max performed stand-up routines that poked fun at Galactic bureaucracy. Rico hosted roast battles with alien delegates where laughter sometimes erupted despite protocol. Lila navigated diplomatic channels with sharp wit and unexpected empathy. It was unlike anything the Galactic fleet had faced before. In a private moment, the young officer Sarlacc had noticed a flicker of something he hadn't seen in years: curiosity. Even Commander Vrax paused once, watching a human comedian's holographic show replayed on a screen. "What is this?" "Laughter," he muttered. "An emotional response, Commander," Sarlacc replied. "But its effect is unpredictable. It undermines our authority. It causes confusion." Vrax scowled. "We will crush this confusion. They will submit." But the humans had already begun to change the tone of the confrontation. They weren't just guests. They were disruptors, bringing an alien concept into a rigid empire, that sometimes laughter was stronger than fear. As the Dominion's wrath orbited Earth, the galaxy waited to see what would come next. Would the Galactic fleet tighten its grip with weapons and wrath? Or would humanity's laughter echo through the stars, starting a revolution unlike any before? The answer was coming, but it wasn't going to be what anyone expected. The Grand Hall aboard the Dominion's Wrath was designed to impress and intimidate. Towering ceilings made of shimmering alloys reflected the cold, artificial light. Alien delegates from dozens of star systems filled the seats, their varied forms packed shoulder to shoulder. Their eyes, antennas, and tendrils flicked nervously, expecting a grim show of power and fear. Instead, humans brought laughter. Max, the comedian, stood at the center of the stage, microphone in hand, an irrepressible grin on his face. Behind him, a massive hollow screen displayed scenes from Earth: bustling cities, cats chasing laser pointers, and clips from some of humanity's most ridiculous viral videos. Max cleared his throat, scanning the crowd with practiced ease. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and multi-limbed beings. Welcome to the first annual Galactic Fleet Roast, he announced, and a ripple of confusion spread through the audience. What's a roast? Asked Sarlacc, whispering to a nearby officer. The answer was lost in the growing laughter. Max launched into his routine, weaving sharp, clever observations about the Galactic Fleet's fearsome reputation and the very serious faces of the commanders before him. You know, you guys block trade routes and send ultimatums, but you forgot one thing. You never said anything about blocking the internet. That's right, we've been memeing you into oblivion for days. He flicked a switch and a hologram appeared, a cartoonish version of Commander Vrack slipping on a banana peel made of star maps. The crowd exploded with laughter, some genuine, some uneasy. Even a few delegates doubled over in surprise. Sarlacc's mandibles clicked angrily. Max didn't stop. You're a big scary fleet with all these weapons and warships. But honestly, you look like you could use a good laugh. Ever try stand-up? It's cheaper than bombing planets, trust me. Behind him, the holoscreen shifted to show scenes of humans from different cultures laughing, dancing, and even performing slapstick comedy. The contrast was stark, the grim fleet and the joyful species below. Suddenly, a hologram of the Galactic Fleet's emblem morphed into a rubber chicken, squeaking loudly. Max paused for effect. See? Even your emblem's got potential. You just need to loosen up. Whispers spread across the hall. Alien officers exchanging uncertain glances, some smiling awkwardly, others trying to hide it. Commander Vrax's face was an impassive mask, but his eyes flickered with something unspoken. As Max finished, he gestured to Ambassador Lila Chen, who stepped forward with a warm smile. We come in peace, but with a message, she said calmly. Humor is not weakness, it's resilience. It's a way to understand and survive. Before you decide the fate of billions, consider what laughter can build: alliances, trust, hope. A young officer at the back, watching from the shadows, felt something stir inside, a flicker of curiosity and awe. She had never seen diplomacy like this. Sarlacc, still bristling with anger, barked an order to cut the transmission, but the damage was done. Across the fleet and the galaxy, the broadcast spread like wildfire. Social channels buzzed. Citizens laughed, debated, and questioned, but not everyone was amused. Commander Vrax convened an emergency council. His advisors warned of human unpredictability and psychological warfare. Their laughter is a shield, and a sword, one intoned. Vrax's decision was brutal and simple. If humor cannot be crushed, then force will silence it. Yet, as the fleet prepared to escalate, the humans doubled down on their strategy. That night in a hidden studio on Earth, Max and his team gathered around a table piled with snacks and holoprojectors. They knew what was coming next, a test of their resolve. We don't just fight with guns, Max said, munching on popcorn. We fight with heart, with humor. We show them what it means to be human. Lila nodded. We're not just jesters. We're diplomats, we're warriors, just with a different kind of weapon. Their plan was bold, to turn the Galactic Fleet's fearsome image upside down by exposing its absurdities, its bureaucratic quirks, and the alien commander's own vanity. Every broadcast would be a jab, every joke a challenge. Back on the Dominions, Wrath, the crew watched the broadcasts in disbelief and reluctantly amusement. Even Commander Vrax found himself caught off guard, glancing away when a particularly clever joke hit close to home. The galaxy was witnessing something unprecedented, a war of wits, humor, and resilience, and humanity had just begun its performance. The Mayo galaxy watched in tense silence as the Dominion's wrath prepared its response. Commander Vrax's patience had worn thin. You mock our power. You laugh at our might. Now you will understand the consequences, he declared in a voice cold enough to freeze the plasma in the ship's engines. The target was clear, an uninhabited moon on the edge of the Luyana cluster, a remote rock with no strategic value, except as a warning. Within hours, the fleet unleashed a devastating display of firepower. Warships fired their plasma cannons in synchronized fury, turning the moon's surface into molten glass. The spectacle was broadcast live across galactic networks as a grim message to all. Defiance would be met with destruction. On Earth, millions watched the destruction unfold, hearts pounding. Governments braced for retaliation, expecting a harsh military response from humanity. Instead, the humans laughed, but not blindly. In a high-tech control room humming with energy, the human response was swift and utterly unexpected. A sleek, unmanned probe launched from Earth's orbit, its mission clear to send back a message. But not one of fear or surrender. This was a message wrapped in laughter. The probe burst through the moon's orbit and projected a powerful signal, a carefully crafted broadcast of human humor and satire. It filled the silent void with waves of laughter, comedy clips, and playful jabs aimed directly at the Galactic fleet. Galactic fleet? More like Galactic flimsy, echoed across the cosmos. Cartoons of alien commanders tripped over their own tentacles. Parodies of fleet protocols became catchy songs. Even the fleet's strict hierarchy was lampooned with affectionate yet biting humor. Across the galaxy, sensors on the Dominion's Wrath picked up the broadcast, and confusion spread like wildfire. Commander Vrax stared at the screen, jaw clenched. "What is this? It is not a weapon, it is noise." "No, Commander," Sarlacc replied, his voice edged with frustration. "It is psychological warfare. They are attacking our minds." For the first time, doubt flickered in Vrax's eyes. On board the fleet's bridge, alien officers shifted uncomfortably. The humor was infectious. Some involuntarily smiled, others tried to suppress chuckles. The rigid order of the fleet faced an invisible enemy, one that disarmed without firing a shot. On Earth, Max and his team celebrated the probe's successful transmission, but they knew this was only the beginning. "This isn't just about jokes anymore," Max said, his eyes sharp. "It's a battle for morale, for control, for the soul of this conflict." Ambassador Lila Chen nodded. "If we can make them laugh, we can make them listen. We can break their rigid mindset." Yet even as laughter rippled through the fleet, Commander Vrax prepared a new tactic. If humor was a weapon, he would forge a counterstrike. "Deploy the silence protocol," he ordered. Within hours, entire sectors of the fleet went dark. Communications were cut, broadcasts blocked, and the laughter met with chilling silence. Galactic systems fell into uneasy quiet. The laughter stopped. On Earth, the sudden blackout was felt like a punch to the gut, but humans are nothing if not adaptable. In a dimly lit basement studio, Max and his crew gathered around a bank of screens showing the blackouts. "Silence is their weapon now," Max said, determination hardening his voice. "But silence breeds tension. Tension breeds creativity. We'll find new ways." Lila leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "We'll build new broadcasts, encrypted, disguised, hidden in transmissions, in art, in music. We'll be the virus in their system." As the galaxy braced for what many feared would become all-out war, the humans doubled down on their unorthodox campaign. They didn't just send jokes. They sent hope. They sent defiance. They sent laughter in the face of destruction. And somewhere deep inside the Dominion's Wrath, a young officer who had secretly watched the human broadcasts whispered to himself, "Maybe laughter isn't weakness." The stage was set for a confrontation unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. A war not of weapons and fire, but of wit and will. Darkness settled over the Dominion's Wrath as communication blackouts snuffed out transmissions across vast sectors. The silence was heavy, almost suffocating. But it didn't bring the calm Commander Vrax had hoped for. Instead, it bred unease. Somewhere deep in the labyrinthine corridors of the flagship, Officer Threx, a young, sharp-minded tactician, sat alone in a dimly lit chamber. Normally, her duties involved analyzing strategic data and relaying orders. But lately, her nights had been consumed by something else entirely: human humor. It had begun innocuously enough. One encrypted transmission, A forbidden broadcast slipped. Through the silence, an underground human comedy show hidden in layers of static and coded signals. Threx had stumbled upon it by accident while monitoring the blacked-out sectors. She had expected to find nonsense, propaganda, or meaningless noise. Instead, she found herself laughing, a deep, genuine laugh that echoed in the empty room. At first, she chastised herself. This is a distraction, an enemy trick. But the humor was different from anything she'd known. Not crude or cruel, but clever, empathetic, and surprisingly hopeful. Every joke carried a message about resilience, unity, and the absurdity of war. Threx wasn't alone. Across the fleet, other officers and crew members secretly tuned in to the hidden broadcasts. Whispered conversations about the strange human weapon circulated in hushed tones. Some confessed to sharing jokes with trusted comrades, a small rebellion of laughter beneath the surface of rigid discipline. Commander Vrax sensed it, an invisible fault line running through his forces. He called an emergency meeting of his closest advisors. The humans have infected us with laughter, Vrax growled. Our order is cracking. We must find the source and destroy it. Sarlacc, ever loyal but increasingly uneasy, proposed a ruthless plan. We purge the dissenters. We impose stricter controls. But Threx, sitting quietly in the back, felt a spark of defiance. When the meeting adjourned, she retreated to a hidden chamber and activated a secure channel to Earth. A hologram flickered to life. Max's face appeared, grinning. Threx? I didn't think you'd reach out. What can we do for you? Threx's voice was low, trembling with cautious hope. Your broadcasts, they are changing us. Some of us question the fleet's methods. We want peace. We want to learn. Max nodded. That's why we're here. To break down walls, not build them. Over the following weeks, a secret alliance blossomed. Threx became a conduit, sharing information, negotiating between factions, and helping the humans understand the complexities of the fleet's hierarchy and fears. She revealed cracks in the Empire's facade, officers tired of endless war, soldiers haunted by memories of destruction, and families yearning for a future beyond conquest. On Earth, Max and his team crafted messages tailored to these secret listeners, jokes about the fleet's strict regulations, satirical songs about bureaucratic meetings, and stories that humanized the alien commanders. Laughter became a language of rebellion, but not all aboard the Dominion's Wrath welcomed this change. Commander Vrax, isolated in his command chamber, brooded over reports of dissent. This insubordination will be crushed, he vowed. There is no place for weakness in the Galactic fleet. Yet even as he spoke, a small smile flickered on Threx's face as she transmitted another encrypted message to Earth. The war was no longer just between ships and weapons. It was between hearts and minds. And somewhere, deep inside the iron fortress of the Galactic fleet, the first seeds of change were taking root. The Dominion's Wrath was no longer just a warship. It had become a battlefield for the heart and mind. Officer Threx moved cautiously through the corridors, her every step weighted with the knowledge that discovery meant exile, or worse. Yet she carried with her something powerful, a fragile hope. Her secret transmissions with Earth had evolved from simple jokes and broadcasts into dialogues, moments of genuine connection bridging species separated by light years and suspicion. The ship's shadowed corners, whispers of change rustled like the faint hum of an engine, winding up for something new. One evening, as the cold blue light bathed the command deck, Threx found herself summoned to Commander Vrax's chamber. The commander's expression was unreadable, a mask forged from years of command and battle. Yet beneath it, his eyes held a flicker of something unexpected, curiosity. Threx, he began, his voice low. You have been different lately. Reports suggest you are involved in subversive activities. She swallowed hard but met his gaze steadily. I have only sought to understand, Commander. To find a way to end this conflict without more bloodshed. Vrax's brow furrowed. Understanding is for the weak. Strength is obedience, But your defiance intrigues me. A tense silence filled the room. Threx took a breath. There is strength in laughter, Commander, in humor. It connects us, reveals truth, and builds bridges where weapons cannot. Vrax leaned back, considering her words. Show me. And so she did. She activated a holoscreen and played a clip from Earth. A simple yet profound scene. Children from diverse backgrounds laughing together, their joy unfiltered and contagious. The commander watched, his hardened face softening ever so slightly. Is this what you seek to share? He asked. Yes. To remind us all that beneath our differences there is common ground. That laughter can be a force for peace. The moment lingered. Vrax's expression remained stoic, but the room felt lighter, charged with the possibility of change. Meanwhile, hidden throughout the fleet, the ripple effect of laughter spread. Small groups gathered in secret, sharing encrypted broadcasts disguised as entertainment or cultural programs. The humor was a balm to weary souls, a beacon in the dark expanse of space. Sarlacc, ever vigilant, noticed the shifts, but struggled to contain them. He found himself drawn to the broadcast too, the humor piercing through his rigid defenses. Is this weakness? He wondered aloud one night. No, Threx replied when he confronted her. It is strength, the courage to find light in darkness. Across the galaxy, the humans continued their campaign. On Earth, Max prepared new content tailored to the subtle moods of the fleet's factions, songs of hope, stories of resilience, and jokes that spoke of shared struggles. They weren't just fighting a fleet, they were fighting for a future. One broadcast showed a hologram of Commander Vrax with a speech bubble saying, I may be stern, but even I laugh at these jokes. The caption read, Galactic Fleet, learning to laugh, one commander at a time. The message was clear. Change was possible. In the darkest corners of the Dominion's wrath, alliances formed quietly. Humans and sympathetic fleet members shared. Moments of laughter breaking down walls of mistrust. The Galactic Fleet was fracturing, not with weapons, but with words. Back on Earth, a new phrase trended across social networks. Laugh for peace. And in the heart of the fleet, Commander Vrax grappled with an unfamiliar question. Could laughter truly be a weapon more powerful than any cannon? The answer was coming. Slowly, unpredictably, and with the force of a starburst. The Dominion's wrath had become a crucible of change. Once a symbol of unyielding power, it now echoed with the quiet rumblings of dissent and the surprising warmth of laughter. Commander Vrax paced his chamber, eyes flicking between reports of growing insubordination and encrypted broadcasts flooding his systems. His iron grip on the fleet was slipping, fractured by an unexpected weapon. Bring me Threx, he commanded. When she arrived, calm and resolute, Vrax faced her without the usual scorn. Instead, there was a flicker of respect. You have sown discord among my ranks, he said bluntly, yet you speak of peace. How can laughter lead to anything but weakness? Threx met his gaze steadily. Because laughter is truth, Commander. It reveals what's hidden, our fears, our hopes. It breaks down walls built by hatred. Vrax's expression darkened. And what do you propose, that we lay down our weapons and sing songs to our enemies? Not songs, she replied. Dialogue, understanding, a future where neither fleet nor planet lives in fear. The commander's jaw tightened, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Meanwhile, deep within the ship, a secret gathering of officers and crew convened. They were the Laughing Alliance, a covert coalition inspired by human humor and the promise of change. Among them were skeptics and believers, soldiers torn between loyalty and hope. Max's broadcasts had become their rallying cry, messages encoded with jokes, stories, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. One message stood out. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise, sometimes with a punchline. The Maya Alliance planned a bold move, a live broadcast and open message to the entire fleet, blending humor with a call for unity. The day of the broadcast arrived, Max, Lila, and Rico prepared the transmission from Earth, hearts pounding. This wasn't just entertainment, it was a declaration. On board the Dominion's Wrath, screens flickered to life across every deck. The usual stern command visuals gave way to a vibrant show, humans and sympathetic aliens sharing jokes, songs, and stories about peace, courage, and the absurdity of war. Laughter filled the halls. Even Commander Vrax found himself drawn to a hologram of children from different worlds playing together, their laughter pure and contagious, but not all welcomed the change. Sarlacc and his loyalists moved swiftly to cut the broadcast, viewing it as an attack on order. A tense standoff erupted between factions, those clinging to old ways and those embracing a new path. In the chaos, Threx stood firm. "Listen," she urged both sides. "We can choose fear, or we can choose laughter and hope." Her words resonated. Slowly, officers laid down their weapons, choosing dialogue over destruction. The fleet's rigid hierarchy began to crumble, not by force, but by the power of shared humanity. On Earth, the world watched in awe as the Galactic fleet transformed from conquerors to collaborators. The turning point had come, not with a battle, but with a joke, a song, a shared laugh across the stars. Commander Vrax, once the embodiment of unyielding authority, now faced a future where laughter might just save the galaxy. The silence after the broadcast was unlike any the Dominion's Wrath had known. No orders barked, no engines hummed with battle readiness. Instead, the ship held its breath, waiting. Commander Vrax stood alone on the observation deck, gazing out into the swirling starscape. The vastness of space had always been a battlefield, a place of conquest and fear, but now it shimmered with possibility. The broadcast had done the impossible. It had cracked the unyielding armor of the Galactic fleet, not with weapons, but with laughter and hope. Down below, the Laughing Alliance gathered, a mosaic of humans and alien officers united by something rare: trust. Threx smiled quietly as she watched officers share stories and jokes, their faces unguarded and warm. Max's voice echoed over the ship's comms, gentle but firm. "We laughed because we were scared. We joked because hope seemed far away. But here together we find strength, in laughter, in unity, in peace." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Vrax's footsteps echoed behind Threx. "I have seen much in my years," he said quietly. "But never did I imagine the power of laughter could reshape a fleet." She turned, meeting his gaze. "It's the power of connection, Commander. When we understand each other, fear fades." He nodded slowly. "Then let this be the new path." Orders came through. Commands to cease all hostilities, to open diplomatic channels with Earth and the allied planets. The Galactic fleet would no longer be an instrument of fear, but a guardian of peace. Across the galaxy, news spread like wildfire. Worlds once trembling under the fleet's shadow now dared to hope. In a historic ceremony broadcast to every corner of the stars, Commander Vrax and Ambassador Lila Chen stood side by side. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," Lila said, her voice steady. "An era where differences are celebrated, not feared, where laughter and understanding build bridges stronger than any weapon." Vrax's voice followed, carrying a rare warmth. "The Galactic fleet will serve as protectors, not conquerors. We choose peace, guided by the courage of humanity and the unity of all beings." The crowd erupted in cheers, aliens and humans alike. Back on Earth, Max and his team celebrated with the world, their mission complete, but their spirits soaring for the future. "This is just the beginning," Max said, raising a glass. "For every laugh, every story, every connection, we've changed the galaxy." As stars glittered outside the observation windows, a young officer whispered to herself, "We laughed in the face of war, and won." The Dominion's Wrath sailed forward, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a beacon of hope. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a gun, but a smile.